welcome to another Checiegirl Creations video. So today I'll be creating in this mini journal. I've already done a few pages, as you can see. I shall link some of them up in an iCard in the top right hand corner. And today I'm going to work on this page. This page is vellum. And as I found out when I was doing this page, vellum is extremely difficult to do mixed media on because anything wet will make it curl up. So as soon as I put paint or like glue or anything to stick things down, it will curl on me. So yeah, I shall have this in fast forward mode, and I'll have a voiceover so that you know what's going on. And yes, so let's get on with the video and see how this goes. Right, so to start off with, I'm going to grab some scrapbook paper. Some of them has color on it, some of them are plain, and I'm going to stick those down like across the page using some Pritt stick, because from my previous process on the vellum, anything wet makes it curl. So I thought if I stuck things down with the Pritt stick, I wouldn't have to wait for things to dry as long, because as well adding too much heat to vellum does make it curl as well. So the Pritt stick is perfect because it pretty much dries instantly, and especially since I was doing mixed media over, I knew those papers would definitely stay. So I just stuck a few of those down, and now I'm going to use some paper, that packaging that's from one of the previous subscription boxes that I sell, and I'm just using that to just bring in some color. And that was, the packaging was made using the jelly printing technique, so there's lots of yummy layers on there and it's got a really nice texture. So I'm doing that, and I thought that maybe I could bring in some gold, so I'm going to go in with some of that gold tissue paper, again sticking that down with the glue stick. And I am putting quite a bit of glue. I'm not too worrying about it sticking out where like the paper isn't, because I'll be going over with paint, so it doesn't matter too much. Yes, so once I've just added those in a few areas, that's also going to help the page not curl too much, because there'll be papers right across, so it shouldn't like curl up and buckle too much. Now that's a bit of stability for the paper, really. I'm just lightly going over and adding some chalk primer just to kind of push those papers into the background, and you can see how the corners are curling straight away. So I do have to keep on going in and like uncurling them. And I'm going to add some lemon yellow, some red. I'm going to go through and the reds that I have, and I did end up picking like a warm red, so it's a bit more pinkier. And I'll also add some sap green a little bit and some purple, and I'm adding that all using the palette knife. It's a nice way to add like color in an abstract way, but I don't end up sticking with the palette knife like effect. I do like it, but this page I just wasn't really feeling it, and I felt as if it needed a little something. I'm just picking up some of that color with the paper towel. Felt it was a bit dark. I'm going over again with the chalk primer, and I wasn't really liking it. So I'm going to go in and apply some color with a makeup sponge. So first I am going to apply an almond color paint. I was feeling as if I was kind of going along that kind of neutral, kind of vintagey color tones. So I'm going to add that pretty much all over, as well as some gold paint as well. I like my gold and to add shine to my pages, so I thought this was a perfect time too. I didn't want it to be like too shiny, but I did want it to like have just a few spots of gold. And once I did that, I kind of wiped some of that paint back from the papers that I stuck on previously, because it just hid it a bit too much. And now I'm going to go in and add the colors that I used previously, because I didn't want to lose them, but I just didn't like the way they were put down. And this is a much softer background than the first one I'd made. And then I'm just going to like kind of blend things together and lighten up the page using some chalk primer. So while I'm going to waiting for that to dry, I pulled out this die cut from one of the previous subscription boxes. That is June one, is themed vintage. And again, I'm adding those colors that I use for the background very lightly, and then just kind of wiping away the paint, because I do still want to be able to see the bird cage design through it, because I'll go over that with a calligraphy pen and black ink. So once I finished adding all that color, I just went over with some chalk primer just to kind of mute those tones a little bit and blend everything together. And I'm making sure to wipe that back so I can still see the design, and you can kind of see it. And now I'm just going to bring that out with the calligraphy pen. And while I'm doing that, thought I would just let you know, you probably know if you've watched any of my previous videos, I am out of the country at the moment because my family and I are building a new home, an eco home in Trinidad. So I do have a newsletter link below that has a lot more information on that, and you can also subscribe to my newsletter to find out when I'm back in the country, because once I'm back in the country and everything's like up and running, I'll send out a newsletter to let you guys know. So that's all linked below, and where I am, I won't have internet all the time, but whenever I do, I will update you guys on how the build is going on Instagram and Facebook, and I will try my best to be able to update you guys on what I create there, because I did pack a box of art supplies. I'll link that video in an icon top right hand corner, full of art supplies so I can create whenever I have some spare time. So do stay tuned for those posts. Of course, I won't be able to post regularly because I won't have internet all the time. But yes, so just stay tuned and don't forget to read that newsletter, and please do subscribe so you know when I'm back in the country. So now that I've finished adding that detail, I'm just going to go in and add a bit of a black border to that die cut. I am kind of blending it out a little bit with my finger so it's not too dark and overpowering, because I did want the birdcage to stand out from the background. So once I've added that, I'm just kind of testing it on the page and I'm liking how it's looking. And I'm going to add a border, again using that calligraphy ink. And I'm blending that in with my fingers, and it's very messy border because everything just felt kind of like rusticy and grungy and vintage. So I wanted to have that look, and I did add some black splashes. I'm always adding splashes, it's like the norm with me. So I'm adding some big and small splashes, and I'm just trying to figure out like where I want the birdcage to be. And even though I like the black splashes, I felt as if they were a bit too overpowering. So I'm just going to go over the page with some chalk primer and the palette knife. And I'm also adding that to the birdcage. It just looked too perfect on the page. So I'm just adding that in a few areas and blending it out so it still stands out. And I'm also going to add some gold with my fingers to give it a bit more shine. So let me see what's next. Yes, I'm going to stick it down using tacky glue. Tacky glue I find is best for working on this page, especially since it's vellum and the die cut is quite thick. So I thought that would be perfect. And I'm just going to add some highlights using my Uniball Signo gel pen. And that just helps everything pop, like black or dark colors help to ground it, and light colors and white and stuff help to make things pop. So I'm putting that aside to dry, and now I'm going to work on my phrase. I like to add a quote or a phrase to my page. So I've taken a plain strip of plain book paper, and I'm going to write "never stay caged" with a Sharpie marker. And once I've written that, I'm going to cut that out. And I'm just placing that where I think I'd want it, and I liked it there. And I'm going to stick that down onto the page now, and it is looking really plain, and it looks like I've just stuck pieces of paper on the page, but I don't want it to look like that. So I will go over and kind of blend that into the background a little bit, not too much of course. I still do want it to stand out, but I just didn't want it to look stuck on. So I'm going to just add some color using a small paintbrush. First I went in with the almond color, some purple, I think I'll do red and green as well, and I'm just going to like dab off some of that color with the paper towel because I don't want it to be too strong. So I'm also adding some of that yellow just to make sure it's nice and bright still, and just dabbing off that color. So I'm going to add some gold, and then I'm going to draw around the phrase using my calligraphy pen. But first I'm going to add those birds because I just thought that was perfect, just to add them as if they were like flying out of the cage. And I'm going to go around that those phrases, and that's just going to help them pop out of the page, so then it doesn't look like they're stuck on, but they still pop. and that's what I wanted. And I think I'll add some highlights, and that might be it. So, if you like the video, please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, click that bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video, and even though I'm out of the country, there'll still be a video every Monday, so stay tuned for the next one. If you are inspired by any of my pages, please do share. You can tag me on Instagram, you can join my Facebook group and share in there because I would love to see your guys' creations. So, thanks again for watching, and I hope you join me again for another arty video. Bye!